want to picture your facial reaction to I just want to go home.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
If my security holding me down in Cali, is somebody, the #1 rapper in the world, get killed, you're telling you, I just need to want to go home. And the second top artist in the world, which is Mase, about to be #1. He said, that's what I'm saying. I wonder his face, because I'm like, if y'all let me do that to Big, I don't stand a chance.
Welcome back to your daily dose of scandal and glamour. It's been more than 25 years since the notorious B.i.g. was gunned down in Los Angeles, yet the case still haunts hip-hop like a ghost that refuses to leave. Instead of closure, what we keep getting are new arguments, fresh accusations, and old wounds being ripped wide open once again. The latest firestorm comes straight out of Harlem, where Mase and Cam'ron decided to throw shade at Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, during their It Is What It Is podcast. Sitting back and laughing, the two legends questioned Gene's actions on the very night Biggie was murdered. Mase in particular didn't bite his tongue. He straight up asked why Gene didn't pull his weapon, why he didn't fire back when the bullets started flying. The way they joked about it, they made it sound like Gene froze under pressure, like he failed his job to protect one of rap's biggest icons. Clips of their conversation spread across the internet like wildfire.
Want to laugh and lie about the situation? Let's get into it, bro. I want to get into this. Prior to the Peterson Museum, Mase and Stevie J went to a celebrity basketball game. They let the dudes, I don't know if it was the dudes from the Dog Pound, it was the dudes that was Crips, they let Stevie J and Mase know, we want Puff and we want Big. Mase felt like he was safe, laying down there, throwing up West Coast signs with them. Mase came back from that game. He let me know and he let Puff know. He never mentioned a damn thing to Big. As his label mate, as a fellow New Yorker, he had an obligation to tell Big, and he know I came and got him. And Mase said, yo, Big G, why you here? Why you here? He said, Big G, I'm all right. I said, if you was all right, why am I here?
With fans clowning Gene and dragging old conspiracy theories back into the spotlight, memes, debates, and heated arguments reignited as people revisited every detail of that deadly night in '97. But anyone who knows Gene Deal knows one thing: he's not the type to let disrespect slide. He's carried that night on his shoulders for decades, constantly forced to defend his name against critics and self-proclaimed experts. So when he saw Mase talking reckless, Gene didn't stay quiet. He clapped back hard, calling Mase out directly and saying, if you've got something to say, be a man about it. Gene clapped back by reminding everyone that Mase wasn't even there that night. He wasn't in the car. He wasn't on the street. He wasn't standing in the middle of that chaos. So how could he talk like he knew the real pressure of that moment? Gene went even further, dropping hints that Mase had his own reasons for laying low during that era. According to Gene, once the smoke cleared in LA, Mase wasn't moving around the same way anymore.
Actually in a hotel with a young lady.
And when you heard this information, what was your next actions?
My next actions, after what?
When you heard Biggie died, did you stay in your hotel room? Did you leave out? Did you want to go back to New York?
I actually was trapped in a hotel.
Now I want to ask the question. What do you mean trapped?
It was about probably like 70 or so bloods in the hallway. I couldn't even leave my room.
How'd you get out?
One of the guys.
Why would it be 70 bloods in your hallway after Biggie Smalls died?
Actually, after Big got killed, they was probably looking for more bad boy artists. And I couldn't even leave the room till Gene Deal, the officer had to come get me.
He claimed Mase deliberately kept himself out of certain situations, almost like he already knew something big was about to explode. That's a heavy shot, basically painting Mase not as some innocent bystander, but as somebody who might have been too close to the fire to act normal afterward. Mase, though, didn't dodge the talk. He told his own version of how Biggie's death left him shaken and paranoid. According to him, right after the shooting, he locked himself inside a hotel room with about 70 bloods supposedly holding down the hallway, allegedly waiting for bad boy artists to show up. Mase painted the picture like it was pure survival mode. Him stuck in a room while the streets outside were boiling over with tension. Whichever side you believe, both stories show the same truth. Being around Bad Boy Records at that time was dangerous. Everyone connected to it was walking around with fear in their chest, waiting for the next shoe to drop. And Gene Deal, he's been defending himself for years, hopping on podcasts, interviews, and YouTube videos, repeating his side. He swears he did everything he could that night, that he moved Biggie into the car, that he stayed alert even while bullets and chaos tore through the scene. The problem is when your name is tied to an unsolved murder as infamous as Biggie's.
I just want to go home. I just want to be home. What do you do if you're security crying behind the car?
Damn.
I just want my blanket. I just want your blanket. You gotta get out of here. I didn't sing too much. Just can't tell me nothing. That's why when they be talking tough, I said, man, just save it. I didn't seen all that. Nigga said he want to just go home.
Oh,
and be in his blanket. You're like, what?
But he there for security.
You're never going to be in this position.
I just want to go home and
I just want to be under my blanket.
Crazy.
Oh, we got to get out of here. God, you get me out of here. I'm never fooling with these niggas.
People are always gonna second guess you. And when Mase, a rapper who actually came up under Bad Boy, starts questioning Gene in public, it just rips the wounds back open again. What we're left with now is another ugly chapter in a case that still sits unsolved decades later. Instead of getting answers, we've got Harlem legends throwing shade, bodyguards fighting to clear their names, and fans stuck wondering if anyone is really telling the whole truth. And if Gene Deal's claim that Mase might have known more than he let on carries even a shred of truth, then the Biggie case just got messier than ever. After those jokes with Cameron set the internet ablaze, Mase spun back with his own version of the story, one that paints him not as a coward, but as a survivor trapped in the middle of pure chaos. According to him, the night Biggie died wasn't just about the bullets that tore through Wilshire Boulevard, it was about what came next. Mase said he holed up in a Los Angeles hotel while nearly 70 Bloods were packed in the hallway outside, supposedly waiting on Bad Boy artists to make a move. Picture that. You're young, your label's brightest star has just been murdered, and outside your door, one of the most feared gangs in LA is daring you to step out. That's the scene Mase lays out. He wasn't scared for nothing. He was locked inside what felt like a war zone. And truth be told, the tension in LA back then was at a boiling point no one could ignore. Just months before Biggie's death, Tupac had already been murdered, and the East Coast-West Coast beef was still sizzling like an open wound. Suge Knight and Death Row were breathing down Bad Boy's neck, and every single move felt like it could set off a chain reaction. But Gene Deal doesn't see Mase's hotel story as bravery at all. He sees it as pure deflection, a way for Mase to explain why he wasn't really in the mix the night it mattered most. See, Gene's got his own theory, and it points the finger right back at Bad Boy's inner circle. He's claimed more than once that Mase and Stevie J's reckless behavior in LA played a major role in raising the heat that ultimately led to Biggie's death. According to Gene, the two were moving around the city too bold, flaunting success, hosting wild parties, and rubbing the wrong people the wrong way in a city that was already on edge. And let's not forget, this was 1997, a time when LA was still raw from losing Pac, and many people were pointing the blame at the East Coast for the way things went down. Gene has said point blank that Mase and Stevie J weren't just innocent bystanders caught in crossfire. He paints them as agitators. People who might have stirred the pot whether they meant to or not. That's what makes this back and forth so explosive. On one side, you've got Mase insisting, I was locked inside a hotel because gangs had it out for Bad Boy. I was just trying to survive. But on the other side, Gene is practically shouting, you weren't a victim, you were part of the problem. You were in LA making it hotter for all of us. Both stories sound believable, but they can't both be fully true. And that's what's left fans torn, forced to pick which version they believe. Some lean toward Mase's side, because it lines up with what everyone knows about LA politics in the late 90s. The Bloods and Crips controlled the streets, and outsiders had to move like every step could cost their life. But others ride with Gene's theory because it matches the story he's been standing on for years, that the danger Biggie faced that night wasn't just some random drive-by, it was the result of tension boiling inside the music industry and inside Bad Boy's own camp. According to that view, Biggie's death wasn't an accident of timing. It was the explosion of months, maybe years of pressure, beef, and reckless moves on both coasts. And now, decades later, when Mase and Gene air out their stories, it feels like puzzle pieces hitting the table, but none of them locking into place. Each side gives a glimpse, but the picture never adds up clean. What is clear is this: Biggie's murder still casts a shadow so heavy that nobody tied to it has ever truly escaped. Gene is still out here defending his name, carrying the weight of that night like a scar he can't shake. Mase is still explaining why he moved the way he did, trying to prove he wasn't hiding, just surviving. And fans, they're stuck in the middle watching two insiders battle over a mystery that should have been solved years ago, but instead remains one of hip-hop's coldest, most haunting cases ever. If there's one thing about Gene Deal, it's that he's been battling for his reputation ever since that night in March '97. For him, it's not just about surviving the chaos of Biggie's murder, it's about proving that he did everything in his power while the world keeps pointing fingers. So when someone like Mase cracks jokes, Gene doesn't laugh, he snaps back, because he's been carrying a weight that nobody else can truly understand. Over the years, Gene has told his story 100 different ways, but the core points never change. He swears he was right there when the shots rang out, that he dragged Biggie out of the car with his own hands, and that he risked his life trying to get him to safety. To Gene, the idea that he froze up, or worse, that he failed to act, is flat-out disrespect. And he never forgets to remind people this wasn't a movie. Once bullets start flying, chaos takes over in seconds. And who exactly was he supposed to fire back at? The shooters were inside a car speeding past in a drive-by. By the time he could even react, it was already over. That's been his defense for decades, and he stuck to it like gospel. But no matter how many times he explains himself, the whispers never die down. And that's what eats at him the most. He's even called out Diddy multiple times for refusing to publicly back him up, saying Puff let him take the blame, while the bad boy machine kept moving forward like nothing happened. According to Gene, Diddy stayed silent, focused on keeping his empire alive, and left him carrying the weight of that night all by himself. Stevie J, another big name tied to Bad Boy, has also stayed quiet. And to Gene, that silence speaks louder than words. It makes him feel like the people closest to the fire don't want the truth out, because the truth might expose just how much responsibility the whole crew had in Biggie's death. That's exactly why Mase clowning him stings so much. When a random fan talks trash, Gene can brush it off, but when it comes from someone who wore the Bad Boy chain, someone who made millions off the same machine, that cuts way deeper. To Gene, Mase is out here talking reckless without the faintest idea of what it was really like in the trenches that night. And that's why Gene's clapback sounds so personal. He's not just defending his name, he's defending the fact that he lived through something Mase never had to face directly. And that's the reason Gene has practically built a second career out of telling his truth. You've seen him on platforms like Vlad TV, Art of Dialogue, and countless YouTube interviews laying out raw stories of what it was really like behind the curtain at Bad Boy Records. Sometimes he's spilling on Biggie, sometimes he's calling out Diddy, but the thread is always the same. Gene standing firm, saying, I was there, I saw it, and I know the truth. Whether people believe him or not, he refuses to be silenced. And that's what makes his voice hit so hard. He's not a rapper chasing streams. He's not a comedian chasing laughs. He's a man who lived through it, and he's never letting it be forgotten. He's a former bodyguard who lost the very man he was hired to protect, and that's haunted him ever since. That kind of scar gives Gene a credibility no meme, no podcast joke, no internet clowning can ever erase. Fans might argue about the details, but nobody can deny he was closer to the action that night than almost anyone still alive and talking today. But here's the catch. The more Gene talks, the more enemies he makes. Every story he drops puts the spotlight right back on people like Diddy, Mase, and Stevie J. And while Gene swears he's only trying to clear his name, he knows deep down that every word he spills drags old skeletons out of closets others would rather keep locked tight. That's why every time Gene claps back, the industry pays close attention, because he's the type who might casually drop a detail that was never supposed to see daylight. And once it's out, there's no taking it back. Every time Mase or Gene speaks on that night, it's like Biggie's ghost is pulled right back into the center of hip-hop. This ain't just another rap beef, and it's not even just about pride. It's about the fact that one of the greatest rappers to ever touch a mic was murdered in plain sight, and to this day, nobody has been held accountable. And because the case remains unsolved, everyone tied to that night still walks under a shadow. For Mase, that shadow has always been survival. His story about being trapped inside a hotel with bloods crowding the hallways shows the paranoia he claims consumed him after Biggie's death. To him, it wasn't about hiding, it was about knowing the whole city had Bad Boy in its sights. That kind of fear doesn't fade overnight, and the truth is, Mase's career after Biggie's death always looked shaky. He was supposed to be Bad Boy's next golden star, but his sudden exit to become a pastor left people wondering, what demons was he really running from? Whether or not you buy Gene's accusations, the timeline makes one thing clear. Mase might never have truly recovered from that night. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.